It's 6:47 p.m. on a random Tuesday. You have one bad interaction with a coworker. You open up your group chat with your best friends and you tell them everything that happened. 47 messages later, you now have 3 friends furious on your behalf. And they've already nicknamed her. They've labeled her jealous. And they've cited 2 other times she literally did the same thing. But here's the thing nobody is saying out loud. You are more furious now than you were before you even opened the group chat. And something that you probably would have forgot 2 days from now, you're still talking about with your friends 6 months from now. You're listening to How to Live with Care. This is the show about becoming who you're trying to be without pretending the process is clean. There are some days that I get stuck on the Threads app. I don't know if anybody else has done this, but I'll be scrolling on Instagram and I'll see the Threads pop up halfway through and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. And I'll click on it and it's like this random text thread of this random girl that nobody even knows, but for some reason it blew up and everybody in that chat is just like going crazy. She's talking about a situation where you only know probably 30% of the information and everybody is just taking it and running with it. And it made me sit back and reflect and I was thinking, wow, like this is how I used to talk with my best friends in my group chats, like high school, early college. We all had that group chat, you put a cute little picture in there. You've got like an inside joke of a name on top. And what starts off super cute as, oh, like we're going to make plans in here or hey girl, can you send me that picture you took of us last Friday? It turns into this random outlet of just emotional outbursts and continuous conversation over the smallest things that just make you feel that rush or that high. And I realized after I had this friendship, and I'm going to dive deeper into that another time, but I'm going to briefly touch on it today because I think that end of that friendship was that light bulb moment in me where I realized I was doing that. I was the person that was also going to my friends hoping to light a fire in the group chat where I was the instigator or I was piling on for somebody else. I was amplifying everything up. And at the time it really did seem so fun. And I still catch myself doing this every now and then. I will say that. I am not perfect by any means. Just because I talk about things does not mean that I don't mess up sometimes. It means that I expect myself to mess up every now and then. And I forgive myself for it because I'm continuously making growth towards a specific expectation that I've set for myself. So I am a complainer. And my mom and my dad and my boyfriend, my brother, they'll all say it. I am a huge complainer. That's genuinely one of the habits that I have been trying to fix lately because I don't want to be that person that's just like, like walking around complaining about everything. That's just so annoying. Like I've been on both sides of that and I'm really trying to cut that habit for myself. But that is really what had me sit back and reflect and think about what we're going to be talking about today. And it's a word that I came across in the world of psychology and it's been studied before and it's called co-rumination. And just like a brief definition of that, co-rumination is the repeated rehashing of problems with your friends. And they've done studies on this before, particularly with women, and its ties to anxiety and depression. And as I was researching this word, I was learning a little bit more of it. This question kept popping up in my head, and I was thinking, what are these group chats actually for? What is my friendship actually for? Is it making me sharper or duller as a person? I'm not sure exactly when this shift happened from, cute little jokes in the group chat to now I'm venting about something that happened like 3 years ago and we're just going on and on and on about it. But at some point it does happen. And it is very common, specifically for women and female friendships, where you will have something bad that happens or somebody hurts you or somebody says something wrong. It could be a stranger, it could be reoccurring. It doesn't really matter what it is, but we often have that person or that group chat or, just that specific source. And now with the rise of technology, I see it a lot in ChatGPT too, or Claude, whatever AI source it may be, where they use that as their emotional outsource. Instead of going to a therapist, I know it's not always that accessible, or, trying to just take time to reflect and think inward, we often find that one thing that we know is going to agree with us, that we know is going to say exactly what we want it to. You have this biased source of information that you think is like all all-knowing and you go into it, and little do you know that it actually is catering its responses to you, and it's not actually giving you an unbiased perspective. Even sometimes if you were to ask it, hey, give me an unbiased perspective, it's still going to cater towards what you would like to hear and what you want to hear, because it wants you to keep coming back to it and asking it questions. So that's just something to also look out for. This doesn't specifically have to be with people. You can also be doing it with your chat GPT. And this is why therapists are so important in the world. And I know that they're not always accessible, and that really stinks. But therapists are amazing because they are a source of information where you can go to and you can vent and you can complain and you can say whatever it is that you need to say to this person to get this emotional feeling out of the way. And they are going to listen and they are going to make you feel heard. But what they're going to do differently versus your group chat that you might be relying on is they are going to challenge you and they are going to push you and they are going to say, hey, I see you, I hear you, but let's maybe think of this from their perspective. Let's maybe think of this in a different way. But a lot of the times we don't want that. And I was trying to think, why is that? Why was it that I was stuck in this huge habit of not wanting to grow and wanting to stay in the same place? And I was thinking about what really changed my mindset on this. And I was thinking to one specific friend. Now, me and this girl, we are not friends now. I mustered up the courage to be able to set that boundary in place to kind of give myself a little bit of space from there because it just wasn't doing anything great for me. And I'm going to dive deeper into that another episode. But today, I'm just going to keep it really brief. And this specific friend, it was so fun. Everything with her was fun. Everything we did was fun. But when it came down to like personal and self-growth, I knew that I wanted to grow a little bit more, but there wasn't space to do that in that friendship because with this specific friend, I was on both sides of it. I would go to her and I would complain, and I would specifically go to her because I knew that no matter what I said to her, she would agree with me. If I went to her and I said, hey, like I literally did this most horrible thing to this super nice person that didn't deserve it at all, she would still find a reason to justify and be like, I totally get why you did that, girl. Like that totally makes sense. And that's the reason why I continuously went to this friend, because I wanted to feel heard. And more importantly, I wanted to be right. And even if I was wrong and deep down I knew I was wrong, if I could go to this friend and she'd tell me that I'm right, then I would feel so much better about myself than the alternative. And I was thinking about it. What came to the end of the friendship? What was part of the reason why the end of the friendship happened? It's because I had other friends that weren't like that. My other friends, they challenged me. They pushed me. They told me when I was wrong. And it was really hard at first, but over time I started to accept it. And I really wanted that. And I almost encouraged it because that's what I wanted for myself, because I didn't want to be stuck in that low level thinking area of just like anger and self-suffering. And I started to go onto the other side of it. I would have this friend, and instead of me going to her now, I realized how she was coming to me, and she would complain. And, you know, typically before I had this light bulb moment, I would do the same thing. Oh my gosh, girl, yeah, she totally deserved that. Like, you're so in the right. Like, making her feel justified every single time, no matter what it might have been. And when I would start to slowly challenge her the way that my other friends would challenge me, I received a lot of pushback. And it was not fun at all. Like, it genuinely was scary at times because I would, you know, get yelled at, or I would say I'm not being a good friend, or I was not being loyal, or I was being toxic. And it really like made me question myself as a friend, or my role in friendships, or just everything. You know, that's kind of what happens when people make you feel like you're crazy. And I just really questioned myself, like, am I being a bad friend? Am I being a bad friend if I am not correcting them when they are so clearly wrong? Because I want them to be a better person, not because I want them to feel like crap because of what they've done or what they said, because I do want them to forgive themselves, but I want them to become a better person. So wait, I thought that I was supposed to do that. Every time I was presented the opportunity to do this with that friend, I was just met with this very negative reaction back to me. And I was like, wow, like this is probably how my other friends felt about me. And it was like really a full circle moment. And I make some jokes sometimes, and I'll deep dive into this friendship another time, but I like to say that this specific friendship was like a mirror to me. And I think that it played a very crucial moment, a very crucial phase in my life where I was presented with a version of myself. Every version of myself that I did not particularly like, that was not the nicest to people, is that friend that I had. And it became a mirror to me and opened my eyes up to all of the ways in which I was acting. And this is one of those huge, like, this was a huge light bulb for me where I was like, wow, this is how I was to other people. I made other people feel so unsafe for trying to correct me. I didn't go to people to try and get things off my chest. I was starting to go to people just because I wanted to feel better about the horrible things that I was thinking and saying. Like, what kind of person am I for that? I don't want to do that anymore. And it took me a lot of time. It took me a lot of time with this specific friend to realize that, I wasn't going to get anywhere with her. And unfortunately, sometimes you just have to end friendships. And that's okay too sometimes. That doesn't have to mean that there's bad blood. It doesn't mean that, there has to be a huge like falling out, like a breakup, whatever. I just decided to distance myself from this friend. And since then, I have realized that I now have become a better friend to my best friends around me now, because I now have learned, hey, this whole like venting thing, there's very different sides of it, and I don't want to be on that toxic side of things. And so after I gave myself some time to forgive and apologize to those who I may have been contributing this nasty perspective with, I was wondering, why did I do this? And I told you guys this, that my biggest question in life is why. I always have to know the why, because you can lay something flat out in front of me of like, hey, this is what you're doing. And I'll be like, okay, that makes sense. But I'm not going to be able to change that until I can fully understand why that's even happening in the first place. Why is my little human brain acting like this? And I did a little more deep diving on that co-rumination, and it came back for me to the ego. Because whenever you are going to somebody and you are telling them the way that you're thinking and you're feeling and your behaviors and your patterns that are all a reflection of your ego, that armor that you have built up. And when you are going to a specific person to do that and they are responding back the way that you want them to, fulfilling that armor, and it all came back to the ego. And I started to play it out in my mind. Okay, so the ego that I have is the armor that I have created for myself to protect me from the opinions of other people and basically protect me from any positive change, because that's scary. And I realized, okay, so I'm going to a friend, and if I'm complaining to her about something, I want her to agree because she's fulfilling my ego. She's telling me I'm right. She's fulfilling everything that I've told myself in my head that makes me feel safe as a person. Because you know how hard it is to do something really horrible towards somebody and then go tell somebody else and they're like, hey, you did something horrible? That hurts so bad. That hurts more than actually doing the hurtful thing itself, which is so crazy to me thinking about it now. But to go to somebody and say, hey, I did this really horrible thing, and then be like, okay, like I totally understand why you did that, it no longer challenges my ego. It no longer tries to break it down, which peeling back the layers of your ego is like one of the most important things that we could do as humans in our roles here on Earth. It always comes back to the ego. It's crazy. And so now that I had my why, I have a literal word that I can apply this to: co-rumination and my ego. Now I can fully understand why this is happening. Now what can I do to change it? What can I do to make sure that I don't fall back into this trap? How can I do this without exploding all of my friendships? How can I implement this new change for not just me, but for my friends? Because I want to preserve my friendships, right? Like, you want to grow with your friends. Just because you're doing this with your friends now doesn't mean that you can't grow with them. Everybody has the opportunity to grow. And I'm thinking about this with my last friend, that unfortunately some friendships have to end, and that is just point blank period. And sometimes they have to end simply because of the fact that they are not helping you grow, and you can see that a lot in their communication style and within everything that I am telling you. The way that people vent to you and complain to you and share their negative experiences in life, the way that they communicate that towards you, and not only that, the way that they accept your communication back to them says a lot about who they are as a person and the role that they are going to play in your life life as a potential friend and whether or not you should keep them as a friend. Because the people that agree with everything you do are doing the most damage to you. And those are the most dangerous relationships that you can have. So if you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I have my friendships, I am thinking specifically of a friend or two while I'm doing this, or maybe I'm just thinking of myself and how I might be to my other friends, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework because you can understand why something, I can explain it to you all day long, but until you actually have some form of an outline or homework or a framework to implement a change into your life, understanding it really doesn't do anything for you. So I'm going to give you a little homework this week, and this is what you're going to do. You are going to do an audit. Every time that you go to a group chat or a friend about a specific thing that happened, I want you to pause. I want you to set the phone down, and I want you to pause and think. And you're going to ask yourself this question. Am I trying to figure out exactly what happened and what I need to do? Or am I trying to get validation for the story that I've already created in my head? And if it's that second one where you've already created up exactly what you think happened, why it happened, who did what, when, where, why, how, and you know exactly how you want that other person to respond back to you, don't send that text. And I'm not telling you to never talk to your friends again. Of course not. I just want you to evaluate, why am I sending this text before you send the text? Because 9 times out of 10, if you ask yourself that question and you evaluate why you're sending that message, if it is for the reason of just simply wanting to be validated and not to grow from it, then you're probably not going to want to send that text anymore. And you're going to feel a little silly for even wanting to send the text in the first place. And you're going to realize that the only reason why you are wanting to send this text about the situation is because you feel uncomfortable. You feel uncomfortable with the way that you feel, and you feel the need to dish that out onto somebody else and to feel understood and for somebody to tell you that you are okay. And this is just straying you even further and further and further away from you being able to tell yourself you are okay. So if something happens and you feel the need to be validated for it, you need to take a step back and you need to say, can I validate myself? Can I feel better about this by myself without asking for help? If I truly do need help and I need another perspective and I need somebody to give me clarity and insight and tell me where I'm not understanding something, to fill in the gaps for me, if that is the answer to the question that you're asking yourself, then you can send that text, because then we are asking somebody for their perspective. We don't use people around here, but just for the sake of words, we are going to use other people's knowledge in order to fill the gaps in our own. We are not using other people to make us feel more comfortable about the negative decisions that we make. And you're going to sit with that feeling for 20 minutes and get a journal, write a text to yourself and write down exactly how you feel, why you feel it. And you'll slowly start to work out why you feel so uncomfortable. And you'll probably solve your own problem by yourself. And you probably won't feel this strongly the next time that you do something wrong too. And you'll slowly start to figure out, why am I doing this? Because it's not for the sake of friendship and for the sake of girlhood. It's so I can feel more comfortable for what I just did. And the bonus of this homework too, and implementing this into your life, is once you start doing this for yourself, you're going to notice the other people that do it to you. Like what I was talking about with my friend there, how I became the other side of it. And I just realized how negative this person was and how they were weighing me down because they weren't allowing space to grow. You are now going to realize the people in your life that do this to you. And then that'll give you a really good moment of reflection to decide, is this friendship worth pursuing? Is this friendship helping me grow? Is this friendship adding value to me and to my life and to them? Now, I'm not saying to go all crazy, cutting your friends off and things like that, because sometimes people, they do need a second to realize that they are doing something negative. It's not always the nicest thing to hear from somebody, knowing that you are doing something that is not positively influencing them when you think that you are best friends. And it's going to hurt a little bit. And it may take some people some time to fully understand what they're doing and make that change. Those people are worth holding on to. The people that are willing to make that change for the better because they see how you're suffering, they see what's going on with you, and they see how they need to become a better person. Those are the people that you can hold on to. But the people that don't want to make the change, the people that make you feel stuck, the people that don't want you to grow either because they want you to stay down where they are too, those are the people that we need to let go. But we can talk about that a little bit more next time. Thank you guys so much for listening once again. again, and always remember to live with care.